What's up, guys? This is Zach and Harley from Bet On It MMA, and we're here to give you fights to make off of the UFC 286 main card. Before we get into the main card, we're gonna give you two guys who are kind of on a collision course with each other right now, and it is Jake Hadley and Muhammad Makayev. Uh, Apparently they, got into it backstage at weigh-ins, and Hadley did call him out after the fight. And both guys look good in their performances. I'm not even gonna say my 2 cents at it. I want to see what Harley feels like, what's gonna happen with those two in the future.
He asked me if they fight
You know, we
now, what I think gonna happen.
we know they're not gonna fight right now,
Yeah,
but
but if they were,
let's say how big of a fight this can potentially be if they continue to, climb up the ranks at 125.
oh yeah, man, this would be a huge fight. I mean, Halle and Makayev, both um hot up and coming prospects, man. They both been doing everything in the UFC. Two very fun fighters to watch. Um, and I think eventually, if they do continue on this trajectory, I think they have to run into each other eventually, man. I don't know when, I don't know where, but it will be a fun fight. Um, you want me to give you my opinion on what I think would happen now if they were to fight right now?
Let me ask you this. How many fights until you think we would get that fight?
What's both of their records right now? Just so I can have an idea.
You know,
How many
Makayev
fights
Makayev is 9-0 and Hadley is 10-1.
and how many fights have each of them had in the UFC?
I
Do
want to say
you know?
Makayev is I know Hadley's 2-1 in the UFC right now. And Makayev is, let's see. Makayev is 4-0. So 2-1 in the UFC and 4-0 in the UFC.
I say you give them so in between 4 to 5 fights.
Gotcha.
That's what I think.
All right, now we're
Well,
gonna move up to the main card. You know,
how many fights do you think it'll take before we go there? How many fights do you think it'll take them to get there? That's like,
I feel like it depends on how much, banter they got back and forth on social media, call out stuff like that. They really got to sell it if they want it earlier because 125 division, it's hard to get a 125 fight to headline, a fight night or something like that. But with these two, it's kind of interesting because they're from the same place. They're both, highly touted prospects. So I feel like the more they can sell it, the sooner we can get it. So I say two to three fights.
and hell, Dana did say in a post fight press conference that they're gonna go back to England to do not just pay per views, do some fight nights too. And man, you put that in there as a main event, that
Yeah.
place gonna be rocking, man.
Even if you put, I don't know if you would put Patty on a headliner fight night. I don't think he's at that stage anymore. But let's say you did a Patty headliner card, a co-main event would be great with Makayev and Hadley.
Yeah, man. And I know she's coming off a loss, but if you want to throw Aaron Blanchfield on there too, I mean not Aaron, Marlon McCann on
Yeah.
there too.
Oh yeah. All right. So moving up to our first main card winner, we have Marvin Vettori. He took a risk by taking this fight. He was number four. Delise was, I want to say, 8 or 9. So he really doesn't move anywhere in the division with this win. But there's a guy like right in front of him. And I said this when Whitaker won his fight. Whitaker, there's not really anybody except, the title. But if he was to take a fight, it would be Jared Cannonier. And same with Vittori. Vittori's kind of in a weird spot where you're kind of waiting to see what happens with the middleweight title. While you're waiting, you got a guy ranked ahead of you in Jared Cannonier. He recently fought, I want to say in December. So, I mean, why not? You know what I mean? If you want to take a fight and see how the middleweight division plays out. What you think about that one?
Yeah, man. The turn fight Canada, I mean, shit, that would be a great test for Canada. I mean, for Ventura, well, for both guys really, but for Ventura, it'd be a good step up fight for him. And if he wins that fight, if he ain't far off from fighting for a title. You can get through Canada, in my opinion.
Big facts, big facts. All right, moving up. We have, we talked about it in our recap episode. You got to start putting some respect on Jennifer Meyer's name. Looking at the rankings, I want to say she was 8. The rankings are gonna come out tomorrow, so I am gonna assume that she jumps in front of Lauren Murphy. With that being said, there's not really any fights for her ahead of her. Most of these girls are booked, or she's already fought them and lost. I think, you know, a girl who just fought had a good performance. Amanda Ribas is ranked number 9. That's about the closest ranked opponent you're gonna get. Really won't do anything number wise, but if you're a girl like Maya and already fought for the title, you're gonna have to fight these up and coming girls in the 125 weight class and get a win streak going before you can get these big names. So what you think about that one?
Yeah, he boss would be a good fight. Um, and I definitely wouldn't mind if they go in the direction. I think that'd be a fans friendly fight. I think that'd be a banger. But also, I look at it from Jennifer Maya's perspective. I know she's gonna be ranked ahead of Lauren Murphy, but man, to me that Lauren Murphy fight for her makes sense. You know, Murphy's been around for a while. If I'm not mistaken, she fought for a world title. She's a veteran. She's seen it all. Yeah, she just lost to Andrade. You know, Andrade picked her apart in a massive way, but Murphy's still tough, durable in that veteran presence. Uh, I think that would also be a good fight for her too. You know, to see if she can continue that momentum, and then maybe give her Hebos after. But to me, yeah, you either got to go Hebos or maybe Lauren Murphy too.
No doubt, no doubt. Next up, a little tricky for me because this guy doesn't fight that often. We have Gunnar Nelson, and I'm gonna give you two different fights for Gunnar Nelson. The first one would be the winner out of Matt Brown and Court McGee. Both are kind of vets, kind of similar to Gunnar Nelson. Don't fight that often, but they both have, relevancy with the diehard MMA fans. The second fight, man, Gunnar Nelson versus Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz hasn't fought in a while. I know he still has fights left on his contract, fights at 170. So I feel like him and Gunnar Nelson, that'd be an interesting fight. And I think, a decent fight for Nick to come back with.
Yeah, yeah. I rather the Mike Brown Court McGee route just because I don't think Nick has really anything left. If I'm gonna just be honest, you know, Nick's awesome. You know, back in his heyday, he could fight, and he was a guy that I watched growing up. But we not in that time anymore. You know, even though Matt Brown and Court McGee, I think they're both kind of on the back half of their careers. I think it'd be a stiffer test for him to fight a Matt Brown or Court McGee as opposed to Diaz. But yeah, I mean, hey, if they want to go with Diaz, I mean, Diaz can still fight, and so
Would
yeah, if
you
they want
watch
to
it?
go that route, huh?
Would you watch it?
Yeah, just because you do the podcast.
I'm saying Diaz coming back to a fight. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if Nate and Nick are on any card, I'm gonna watch it. You know?
Yeah,
And I think Nick's looking to come back for the right fight. That makes sense.
yeah,
You feel me? That he ain't gonna take damage. All right, so you're not a fan of that fight. Got it. All right, but I
yeah.
got one that you will be a fan of. This one's kind of a no-brainer. Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. The
Man,
rematch.
hold on. Let's pause the pod. We can call Dustin real quick. We could call Dustin and ask him, you know, just to give our viewers a direct line, you know. Dustin don't. Hell, I might go knock on his door with some donuts. You don't live too far from me, and I might ask him myself to get a definitive answer for y'all. But yeah, on a serious note, man, Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje too. If they do fight, that's massive. Uh, we saw what happened. First of all, if you say even if you take away their first fight, just their style, you know they're gonna beat the hell out of each other. They're gonna be on a collision course. They're not gonna want to go to the ground. They're gonna beat the hell out of each other for 3 to 5 rounds. Hopefully, it'll be a 5 round fight. Uh, but that's neither here nor there. Um, but if you go back and you look at their first fight, I mean, that was an absolute war. And if I'm not mistaken, was that fight of the year that year? If
Yeah,
I can
I want to
remember.
say it was.
If not, it was damn close to it. So yeah, and yeah, both guys are older, but both guys are still putting on, man, and then ripping off wins against good opposition. You know, you got you got Dustin Poirier who just you got Dustin Poirier who just beat and stopped Michael Chandler, and then you got Gaethje that just won a war against Fatigue, man. So yeah, that would be that would be a hell of a fight.
All right, guys, we're right back at it. We had an incident, off camera, but my boy's all good. But
Yeah, yeah,
going into it, 155 is tricky, man, because guys like Gaethje, Poirier, they keep beating these prospects coming up like Fiziev, and even Dariush beating Gamrot. There's no new blood that can get into the top five or top 10 if they still got these killers coming around, man. So I think, the way the division's set up, I feel like, Dustin, he's what, number two, number one. Uh, I mean, it makes sense to run it back with a guy like Gaethje, who's a fan favorite. Why you about to start laughing, bro?
I'm good now.
Are you good? You good? Yeah.
Uh,
So that's where I'm coming with it. The next one we got, we had the main event winner in Leon Edwards, in his press conference. You know, Kobe Covington is a name that's being brought up a lot, and honestly, as a fan, like I don't want to watch that fight, honestly.
Me either.
I
Kobe just
want
beat Masvidal, dude. He not go well. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Not go ahead. Finish what you
I
said.
feel like Kobe needs to fight at least one more fight, like Bilal Muhammad or somebody like that. And I feel, you know, somebody that's really earned it and climbed their way to the top. Not saying Kobe hasn't earned it, but somebody who's been more active. Gilbert Burns, man. I feel like Gilbert Burns wins versus Masvidal. Burns versus Leon would be an amazing fight. I feel like way back in the day they were supposed to fight, but for some reason it just didn't happen. And let's say Masvidal would win. Him and Leon got a hell of a storyline. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That could sell as well. Um, Not to say that I don't want to see. Let me rephrase that. It's not that I don't want to see Kobe and Leon fight. I just want to see, what's fair is fair, and I feel like a guy like Burns has been more active, and Kobe hasn't fought in a little while. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Burns been more active. Burns is beating better opposition, and to me, Burns has earned it, man. You know, shit. Even what he did with Chimaev, he
yep,
lost that fight, but dude, nobody gave Chimaev well except for Volk. But before the Volkanovski fight, nobody did that with Chimaev, man. And Burns fought a hell of a fight, you know. And I think he'd have a chance to give Leon problems. And like you said, if if Masvidal was to fight Edwards, they have history. So I mean, to me, you can't go wrong with either one of those guys.
absolutely, absolutely. And talking about a guy like Kamzat, if Kamzat would have made weight his last fight, he would for sure be in line to fight for the title next. But Dana White did say he's moving up to 185, so you can't really count him in. But those are my five fights to make. If you disagree, agree, or have any different fights, comment. Make sure you like the video and subscribe.